Hello and welcome, CLI. What's up, צהריים טובים, CLIs ו-CLIזיות, כאן רפי ברבירו, והיום אנחנו בלייב מיוחד לכבוד שבוע האישה, שהוא היה בהתחלה יום האישה, והוא עכשיו שבוע האישה, ולדעתי ראוי שיחגג בכל יום, בכל יום צריך להיות יום האישה, שנת האישה, חיי האישה, ולמעשה, בעולם הקהילות ישנו רוב נשים מובהק, כי רוב מנהלי הקהילות הן מנהלות, וכך גם ב-CLI, קבוצת מנהלי הקהילות, Community Leadership Israel, יש רוב נשי מובהק, והשבוע הזה הייתה חגיגה של עוצמה נשית, והיו תחרויות וכל מיני טקסים ויוזמות שהראו את הכוח הנשי, כוח ניהול נשי, והיום לכבוד המאורע, יש לי הכבוד והעונג להזמין את דנה אוחנה, הישר מקייפטאון, הרחוקה והשמשית. דנה אוחנה היא מנהלת. היי, מה קורה?
מדהים, אצלכם חורף, אז עוד יותר מדהים.
שים אותך, את הריבוע שלך מעל האייקון והפרצוף, בדיוק, ומיד תדעו מי זו הבחורה הזו. אז קודם כל נציג את דנה אוחנה. דנה, ספרי לנו מאיפה אנחנו מכירים. התקלתי עכשיו.
וואי, התקלת אותי, זה כבר... א', אנחנו מכירים, זה יוצא כבר נראה לי יותר מ-15 שנה. נכון. והכרנו בתואר ראשון שלנו. תואר ראשון, בתואר בניהול. לפני אלו שנים.
ממש. והיום את בעולם הקהילות, ולא סתם, את מנהלת את קהילת 101 לעצמאים. מה זו הקהילה הזאת?
אז האמת שזו קהילה שנועה התחילה אותה, שהיא מעצבת גרפית, וזה התחיל בתקופה של הקורונה, ממקום של חיפשנו, אתה יודע, לתת ממש הרבה כלים ועזרה וערבות הדדית, וזה התחיל מזה, וזה פשוט קהילה שצמחה וגדלה, והיא פשוט קהילה גם מאוחדת, זה הכי קשה שלך בקהילה, אנשים שאתה מכיר, וחלקם כבר חברים, וזה מדהים, אז כן, זאת הקהילה, מהממת שלנו.
איזה כיף. והיום, זה יום מיוחד, בגלל שאנחנו חוגגים את יום האישה, וגם בגלל שהשקנו ממש היום, ממש לפני מספר שעות, את האינסטגרם הרשמי של CLI, אז מוזמנים לבדוק Community Leadership Israel באינסטגרם, ואם אתם לא מוצאים, תרשמו לנו בתגובות, ונשמח לשתף את הלינק. היום אנחנו מארחים אורחת מיוחדת, הבה ונכניס אותה ותציגי אותה, דנה, בשפה שנוכל לך. בבקשה, לורן דאלאס.
You're on mute,
Lorraine.
but that's...
I am. Hello, everyone.
Hello, and good afternoon, Lorraine.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited.
Thank you for joining us. You also coming from a sunny country, isn't it?
It is. I'm based in Johannesburg in South Africa, which is basically in the middle of the country, and it was sunny. This is perfect time to come in and do this. It was sunny all morning.
Great. So I will let you chat with Dana, and I'm here in the backstage. Whatever you want, just holla. And I will also be contact with our viewers like Itai Lipka that's writing us so much fun in the middle of the day, a broadcast. Titchachu in English is... yeah, congrats for the Instagram. We launched a new Instagram account today, Community Leadership Israel. Check it out. And also I tagged you in the first story of this Instagram page.
I feel honored. Thank you. I'll definitely check it out.
Great. So enjoy, and I'm encouraging all our viewers to participate in this show, in this live, and send us comments in English, in Hebrew, in Russia, whatever you want, and let's have fun, as we always say.
So before I'm going to introduce Lorraine, it is an open discussion. So you guys, I want you to feel free to ask questions. If you're not sure, if we may be even speaking too fast with the English and everything, so just even write it down in the comments so we can slow the pace if something is not clear. So I want to mention this as a start. But I'm super excited to have Lorraine here because I've been following Lorraine for ages, basically since I've started my journey as a female entrepreneur in South Africa. So Lorraine is actually the founder of Future Females, which is also a movement that supports female entrepreneurs to actually go out and actually be and make their dreams come true, and also support them along that process. Future Females actually was founded in 2017 in Cape Town, South Africa, and today it's actually, I think it's even 54 cities, right, around the world that you're active in.
At 55, we just launched in India actually last week, so.
Amazing. So as you can see this, you've got more than 95,000 memberships today in the online platform. You teach a lot. You do lots of events, a lot of activities. You also have an amazing Facebook group with, I think when I've joined it, which was, I think 3 years ago, probably you had around 10,000 people. Today it's also close to 20,000 female entrepreneurs from everywhere. And that's why I thought it would be an amazing opportunity to host you, because I see it as a very powerful empowerment female entrepreneur, and I love what you do with that community. And I thought, what a great option, to come here and actually speak about this and share, how did you start it, and give us some tips, how do you make something that started basically probably as some small idea to something that big. So I want you to actually share with us. I see in the comments someone say, Itai, Dana, Lorraine, hope you will come to our upcoming CLI meeting this Sunday. If it's on Zoom, so maybe yes.
Love it.
Actually, it's an on-life event. We love on-life events. And if you have time, just pop in this Sunday. It's a quick journey to Israel, just 6 hours, and you're there.
I would love to go to Israel.
My dad is coming for a visit this Tuesday, so there's no way I'm going out from the country. I'm finally, I'm convinced him for the second time to come see where I'm staying and not to convince me to go back home. That's the purpose of this visit.
I love it. Yeah, my family was the same. I think I definitely tell me if I'm speaking too quickly, but I also have a very strange accent. So it's fine if you can't understand me. This is English, Welsh, Australian, now living in South Africa. So it's a bit of a blend.
Do you want to maybe share with us, how did, where did it come from? To say Future Females, where did the concept came?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as I just said, I'm not from South Africa, and I lived in Sydney, Australia for 18 years. And I've started 5 different businesses. 3 of them I've closed down. 1 went into liquidation, unfortunately. And I sold after that liquidation. I guess I lost a bit of love with the tech startup world, and my ego was very bruised. So I went back into corporate, into management consulting. But once you have that entrepreneurial itch, it doesn't go away, and you have to scratch it every day, and it gets more and more intense. And so I reached that point, when you come home and you're like, I just have to quit, move countries, leave everything, and and so I got to this point. And my fiance, who I've been with for 10 years, he's South African. And so our discussion was, should we move to South Africa where he can work and I'll start a business? Or do we move to England where I would work, and obviously it's not as nice and sunny, and he can start a business? So we landed on going to South Africa. And my passion has always been to support entrepreneurs. Even since I was in university, my first real job was with eBay. And I'm sure you guys know eBay Marketplace. And the purpose behind eBay really is supporting people to build businesses online. And so since day one, 12 years ago, 13 now, that's been my intention. And so I moved to South Africa, and I was starting a company, basically doing social media training. But I hadn't met a single South African entrepreneur. So I was sitting in this strange country with no idea what was going on and no idea who I was serving. And my mentor just said, you are being insane. This is never going to work. Go and find a co-working space. So I went there and ended up working for 3 months with a tech accelerator called Techstars. I'm sure you know it. It's also in Tel Aviv. And meeting entrepreneurs and really understanding what they needed. And that was helpful. But what I also noticed through this experience. And there were 10 companies on this accelerator, sourced from all around the world, but not one single female founder. And so on a personal level, I was feeling quite lonely because I was like, where are my people? And on a professional level, I was like, what the hell? Someone has to do more about this problem. And so I met my co-founder as well, and we launched Future Females the day after Techstars ended. That was our strategy, just launch and see if there was appetite, and it's grown from there.
And I think what you've done is amazing, because I know, I came to South Africa because I was working for a global company as a marketing manager. And then I've decided to start my business here. And I remember that it took me a while to find that group. And I would love to hear from you guys who watch this. Like, how was it for you in the beginning? Did you have a struggle? Because I know that for me, it took me a time, to find that group of like female entrepreneurs that I can, like, in our case, it's female entrepreneurs, but you want to be part of a community. You want to have people that understand you, that understand what it is when you want to say, today, I'm done with my business. Like, I want to go back. Like, the amount of time I was crying to my friends, like, about me, that's it. I'm going to come back to Israel. I'm going to find a 9-to-5 job, and that's it. I'm done. So how many of you actually felt it? And how many of you found a group that you can actually be part of? And I think that's what I love. What I love about that community is you know that you're not alone, that other people are experiencing the same as you.
Absolutely. It's so exactly as you say, the technical side of starting a business we'll talk about, I'm sure, but it's always been the emotional side for me that has either propelled me forwards or held me back. And I guess, for me, having a co-founder, a community, advisors is so critical. And I think that's why my other businesses all ended up failing, because I was trying to do it by myself. So I guess I started Future Females for myself as much as for our community members.
I see Ty's writing here. I felt that I'm writing to myself and acted like I'm writing to millions. As long as there's someone who reads in real time or in the future, then I'm fine with us. And I think that's beautiful. It's a great thing, because eventually, like I think you were saying now, you do it for yourself, but you also do it for others. So it's kind of like a tap of a wheel, like when you see that moving yourself forward. So it's like a snowball, but in the other direction.
Absolutely.
So how do you start? How do you actually get from having an idea like this, of starting something? Because I also must say, for people who don't know, in South Africa, it's not that strong to have a lot of female entrepreneurs that coming. If I look at when I started, and I'm sure you're going to say it, the numbers are really growing. But when I started, it wasn't that common. There was more of a fear here. There's a lot of different cultures here, and they come with different things that are holding them back. So how do you actually, in a country like South Africa, with all the different cultures and barriers and everything, to start a community and to make it the success it is?
Oh, no, it's a great question. And it's something that I've reflected on a lot over the years, and why we keep growing, and why we don't have to do a lot of marketing, for example, to get people to come and join us and start chapters in all these different cities. And myself and my team always come back to our values. And I know obviously all of you run communities, so you're probably doing the same, but our step one was saying, what is our community culture and what is it not? Because you have to include some people, which by nature excludes others, so that people who join feel part of it. It's the value of a community comes from your interaction with other members. And so I'll give you an example. We started a sub-community called Founders Club. And what happened is all these people that were in business joined this group with the expectation of being connected only with other people at the same stage as them. But then all of what we call our dreamers who had ideas and wanted to start joined the group. And so they were excited because they were exposed to in-business founders. But the in-business founders were like, I can't get value from this segment. So we had to start by saying, well, who are we for and who are we not? Obviously, we're for female entrepreneurs. And then what are the values that, underpin the culture around our community? And so one of our values, for example, is community driven. And what this means for us is when we create products, services, offers, we always ask the community first what they want. Even if we're picking the theme for an event, our community pick it. It definitely makes my job easier. Like, my strategy is you guys tell me what to do. But in all seriousness, how this played out for us was at our first event, we invited a whole bunch of female entrepreneurs, and we had a room that sat 70 people, and we had 100 people crammed in and 500 joining online. We covered all the walls in butcher's paper, and everyone that came in got markers and Post-its and little notepads to just answer all of these questions. Like, what's holding you back? What motivates you? Who do you want to be connected with? What are you not getting from other communities? And we took all of that feedback and then only wrote our strategy after we had launched, which, I guess, me being from overseas, I had no preconceived notion of what the community needed. So I had to do that exercise, and I keep having to. And Dani, you're talking about the diversity. Like, we have a lot of Israelis in our community, and I've never been to the country. So how could I ever presume to create an offer? Exactly. So for me, it's all about gathering the input from your members and then translating it into your action plan.
But I think what I love about the way you've done it, and I would love to hear again for you guys to watch it even now or even after. So did you actually have like a structure? Because what you've done, basically, you were trying to understand who's your target audience. And then you basically done a research with your target audience by asking them, what are you guys are looking for? What do you need? And really eventually building a strategy that is listening to what they're saying, which in my opinion is something that really help you to build a stronger connection with your community. Because if you will ask me a question and I'll answer and you're going to ignore what I told you, so I'm really not going to want to be in that community. But if there's someone that actually listen and then, you can see the results. And I think that's why, for example, if I look at the community that you have on Facebook, it makes sense for people. People want to join. It makes your life easier even in the after, because you're basically working on building relationships with your followers, with your community. And I think that that's an amazing thing. So you're saying, you've started and then you've done that research. And then what's from there? Like, how do you actually move now from having a strategy and everything and start moving it to, other cities? Like, how do you open that? How you actually, and when is the moment also that you decided that this is the time to make it something more global?
Okay, great. I think I want to touch on two things. And one is we have two aspirations. We are for purpose and for profit. And so what we wanted was a global, massive community and to create a system that allows for that. But secondly, as a self-funded business, we had to figure out how to monetize the model. And they're actually, for us, very different and sometimes difficult to balance. But I'll start with your question, then we can maybe come back to that. So for us, it was relatively organic to start with. So 2 people from our launch event, one lived in Berlin, another lived in Namibia. They just phoned and were like, can we run a Future Females event? And I was like, sure, go nuts. What topic are you thinking? And I handheld them through it. So there wasn't a big strategy around it until we saw the appetite. And then when this started happening and we were in 3 countries in 2 months, Serena and I, my co-founder and I, we were self-funding. We were doing everything and we weren't even charging for tickets for the events. So then we sat down with our mentor and he was like, put a system in place. And obviously there's a lot that goes into it, but I'll share a couple of tips. The first one is, he said, be really diligent about how you recruit and onboard your ambassadors. We call them ambassadors. Other people might call them directors, the people who run the city. Like, even though they are volunteers, they are jobs and roles in your organization. So there need to be an application process. Ours is quite robust. You have to apply, then we do a one-on-one interview, then you have to do a research task about the need of the community in your city. Then you have to go through 4 weeks of training, and only then can you run an event. So he said, your ambassadors will be more committed, or you'll at least weed out people who are like, oh, this sounds fun, without necessarily realizing how much work it is to grow a community, like you guys all know. So make that recruitment process challenging, or at least enough like there has to be work that goes into it. We then, and you might be like, yes, but people aren't coming to ask me to launch in my city. So I can talk as well about that. We were lucky to have it growing organically to start with, but then we wanted to get more strategic about the markets we were going into, and also kind of balance affluent markets where people can pay for tickets and offers with emerging markets where really they can't. So we would run like proactive recruitment campaigns. We ran webinars. We actually just put ads out like job posts saying, do you want to become an ambassador? And ran like marketing campaigns. We've done 2 last year to specifically recruit there as well. Does that answer it?
No, that's amazing that the current grandly, but I see, wait, each time I was writing her, Dana, Joe Polizzi, I will assume, wrote something nice. Don't focus on targeting an audience, but focus on building a community. But I think that that's the main thing. Like even when you listen more and more to how you build it, it's really like the organic side of things. It's because you were building those relationships, those connections, and people actually probably saw, there's something nice in that group and I want it. But I do love the fact that you took it as a system. Because there is a certain point when I think a lot of us, and I would love to hear from those of you watching again, like how do you manage your communities? By the way, what are your top tips? Are you looking to maybe becoming global? And do you actually have a system? Do you have like paid services, things that you charge, or you maybe want to do it, but like not sure? And I know that this is a discussion I have with my partner on managing the community. It's like when it comes to the stage that you actually charge money for certain stuff and you create a product out of it. So while you guys are thinking and answering, I would love to hear from you, like, where was that moment? Because you started to speak about it now with the applications that you say, okay, now I'm going to create products to this, and now I'm going to actually charge money. And then also like how you position yourself in a certain place that, you know, people are actually willing to pay, although you charge in dollars. And a lot of South African are joining, and in rands, the currency, not so easy.
I think monetizing a community is very, very challenging, right? We have tried to do it many different ways, and some of them worked. So the first strategy that we tested that didn't work particularly well for us, it was getting sponsors for our events in our different chapters. We modeled a lot of what we do off a community called Startup Grind. For anyone who has global aspirations, check out Startup Grind. They have about 600 chapters all around the world, and their Tel Aviv chapter is massive. It's their second biggest. So yeah, it's absolutely thriving there, because I met the director and he was telling me about everything he's doing. And so we modeled ourselves off them. The guy that runs Startup Grind really helped us implementing our systems. So my co-founder and I were like, let's just get sponsorships. And we went out and we spoke to so many people. But I think what had happened was when community events were in their prime, let's say 7 years ago, sponsors wanted to come on board. By the time we were approaching them, sponsors were starting to become a little less interested in terms of just being a logo on a slide. And I don't know if you guys have found this, but what we found is people wanted to partner on a deeper level rather than just being a thank you and with a logo on the website. And so we weren't having much luck with sponsorships. And the second thing that happened at the same time was we realized that our mission for our community, which is to increase the number of female entrepreneurs and support them to build more profitable businesses. We realized that our community events by themselves weren't doing a good enough job of delivering on our mission. They were activating people by bringing them together and creating the space for those connections, but how is that really taking them forwards to build their business? They were asking us for training, they were asking for funding, and we were missing out on those 2 big legs. So then we, again, just asked what people needed. And my background is in also ed tech, creating online courses. So it was quite a natural sequencing for us to understand, okay, the pain points are very much around how to start, like the basic foundational recipe for building an online business. And then the second gap, and this is obviously how Dana and I connected, is on the social media front. Like, how do you grow on Instagram? How do you run Facebook ads? So what we did actually was we created a concept, which was our Future Females Business School, a 3-month virtual, we call it an accelerator, but training on how to start. And we didn't spend 6 months making it. We just made a single landing page on a website, and we ran a campaign to see if anyone would buy it. And we had 34 people, I think, in our pilot sign up and pay full price. And so then we quickly tested it, and we were able to use that money to then actually make the program as people were going through it. So that was our first big turning point. That program's now become our flagship. We've had like 2,300 women graduate from it after building their businesses. So in the end, it was a good choice.
But I think what I love about the way you guys are doing, you have like the type of like a balance between going with the flow to actually doing a type of a research and getting a better understanding. Like, you're letting things organically come and grow, but then you do stop in between and strategize and learn through that, which I think it's something that is very like a must to do when you manage a community. You cannot just work so much on plan, especially like if you look at where we live today with all the social media and information runs so much fast and things are changing so quick. Like, I can teach now on Instagram Reels and now it's on Facebook and that changing and the algorithm is changing and constantly things around it. So you constantly need to keep yourself up to date. And I think some of the takeaways I'm taking from you is actually, just not to overthink about certain stuff, just start doing and learn through that process and, know when to stop and understand, okay, here I need to build a better strategy. Here I can tweak it like this and stuff like this, which I think is very good. So I would recommend you guys, if you have questions for Lorraine, please don't be shy. You can come and ask. That's the purpose of this discussion, not just for you to listen to us speak and like actually get some tools from this, that some takeaways that you can actually take and implement in your communities. We would love also to hear what's your community is about. So we'll know like what is the type of communities we have here. Like I know Ita, you're typing all the time here. So I would love to hear what community you manage. Because I know for all of us, it's a struggle. And I'm pretty sure that there is maybe moments like first, the understanding that you cannot do it by yourself and you have a team. So how does that work?
Cool. So when we first started, like our first launch event, it was just me and my co-founder hosting. And we just said at the end of the event, if anyone wants to get involved, come and speak to us. And we were clear that this is all volunteering, like entirely volunteer capacity. But we scoped out specific roles, like our marketer, our partnership manager. And so each volunteer had a job description and a KPI. And then we met once a week. And at this point, we weren't selling even tickets. So every single thing was free. And we were entirely volunteer run, including our ambassadors. As we started being able to monetize, we were then able to hire, but we weren't able to hire ourselves. The first hire we had was a part-time intern. We were sitting there before our event in Cape Town. We were like, I don't know how much longer we can do this. Like, we are drained financially and emotionally. And we're like, let's get an intern. And at that event, Flora, who's still on our team, walked up and said, have you guys thought about taking on an intern? And we're like, yes, we have. Please come on board. And she's now grown into our marketing director. And our first 2 other volunteers are still with us 4.5 years later, and they've grown with the organization and with the community. So our team now is very big. It's about 30 people doing mostly program execution and some community management, but it's definitely grown over time. And a couple of things that helped. One was just there were a few things that helped. One was starting very small and also recruiting people who were passionate about the mission more so than the money, which didn't exist. So I think, we talked about values and that community culture that extends to your team as well as to the community members. So that's how I think we've retained our incredible volunteers. The second thing was then after we monetized by selling our program directly, we also went and thought, like, who else might be interested in reaching and supporting this community? And for example, we now work with the UK government because the UK government is really passionate about supporting South African female entrepreneurs. So they fund us to deliver that mission for them. So there's lots of different ways around it, but that's enabled us to build our team, build our systems more, and I guess stop feeling like we're bootstrapping. Although some days it still definitely feels like that.
I think we all have that moment. So first, so there's something called in South Africa load shedding. So just in case any moment now my Wi-Fi will disappear, I'll connect from my phone. So I'm preparing you and Rafi for this because it's any moment now, but let's hope it will take as long as possible. But I want to ask as well, so how long you said like when you started, it was all about volunteering and everything. So how do you manage it like financially? When is the moment that you actually start to, I'll be rude in Israeli, but like when is the moment you start to actually see the money coming in and you actually seeing results out of it?
Yeah, I mean, we could have started sooner, but we just wanted to do everything free. We thought that we're making it more accessible for everyone if it's all free. But actually, looking back, we're in the business of empowering women and we weren't charging for our own value. So there was a mismatch. It was 6 months before we even charged for tickets for our events. And then that was our biggest event ever. So I think that it's a business model decision. And if you have aspirations, for me, my aspiration is to grow future females to every city in the world that needs us. And I need a hell of a lot of money to achieve that goal in my lifetime. So I'm generating profit to reinvest for impact. And so that's why our monetization is now like a big priority. So I guess for your question, like start now. And there's so many ways. I've been talking about program sales. I've talked a little bit about funding from outside sources. We do now have some sponsors. We also run a subscription membership, which is, I'm sure some of you are, and I'd love to know if you are, monetizing like community access through a small monthly subscription. But we're also doing other things like, marketers would pay us to share offers, or we'll share other people's programs and take a commission, obviously aligned. We're starting up a fund as well to provide that access to funding. So I think what's so exciting about a community model is you have your community now, and it's just about like giving them the value that they're willing to pay for.
And I think that what really helps you to grow organically, because you're creating that cycle thing, that movement, that you listen to them, you give them the value, then they come more and they come more, and then they bring the friends. It's like you're saying about the Israeli. Like I invited lots of my friends to join the community because I have lots of Israelis that lives like, in different countries. I see Ty here saying the shifting from offering things for free to payment. Now I moved here. Where was it? Did it go flawless or there were like obstacles? Because it's a big issue with certain communities.
So what we operate is almost a hybrid. So we still offer a lot of free material, and then from there offer people to almost upsell into our paid offerings. Our events started going so much better when we ticketed. Our free events were getting around 50% attendance. As soon as we started charging, we were getting 90%. So it was easier for us as well to predict what we needed, our expenses, like catering, for example. I have seen and actually mentored someone who runs a South African community. And what she did was she was launching a paid membership, and she made the decision to shut down the free group and only offer the paid. And a small proportion of people came over. I think it was about 2%, because it's not easy to suddenly say you have to pay for this access. And so I think in hindsight, she wouldn't have closed down the free and only offered paid. I think she would have offered paid and then just like maybe gradually moved bits of the free offering over and made it a longer time period. She basically had 1 month, and you either paid or the community didn't exist. So I wouldn't do that, only because I've seen both options. And what's nice about our approach, offering paid while still maintaining free, is that you get to test and learn. And we, like in any business, right? The first thing you do is probably not going to be the thing you end up with. So I would say both.
And that's something I wish someone told me when I started my business. I was thinking like, what do you mean it's going to be so easy? Like, I'm going to earn money from the first month. Like, and that's saying as a foreigner that started a company, not in my home country and not in my home language. But also, so I get it. But I want to say something about that paid version. So I do agree about the free and the paid. And I think that it's also for you to understand your audience. Because like, for example, in South Africa, which I learned, which is it's not the same as in Israeli. People don't appreciate here the free stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was trying during COVID to give lots of free stuff because I saw it like as a good thing. Like, I really want to help you. And people were very like thinking like, oh my God, there's something dodgy about this. They couldn't get it. So people here actually prefer to pay because it means that they're also investing. They know what they're paying for. So I guess this is something also you guys need to ask yourself about your community. Are those the people that are willing to pay or they're not? They're like the free stuff. And then you need to ask yourself, if you want to monetize your community, is that actually the target audience you want to stay with? Or you may be, as you say, like you work in 2 tiers, you have the free ones and you're working on reaching out to new audience that are actually willing to pay for stuff.
Exactly. And I mean, we call them our community champions, and I'm sure all of you have them. There's always the smaller group of people who are like promoting you without you even asking, inviting their friends, attending every event, moderating your group, even though they're not a moderator. We all have them. And what exercise we went through was trying to figure out who are these champions specifically so we can create more. And interestingly, all of our champions were people who had bought something from us. There were like 1 or 2 out of the 50 that we were researching who hadn't paid. And so there's such an interesting correlation between investment and engagement that we found as well when it comes to communities.
And I think that's the beauty, to find those people. And I think that's the important part, not even the quantity, but it's the quality of the people. Because I always say the quality will bring the quantity. And I think that's what's happening in Future Females. Because if I look at how even the free Facebook group groups, because of the type of questions that there is there, the discussions that you have there and everything. I see, Ty, you're writing another thing. There was a question this week on CLI, which is related to my question. How do you cope with competition from other communities that compete for the same budget? We have several communities that their goal is to empower women.
I think that's a very good question. And I guess there's a mindset answer as well as a very practical one. If let's say you're competing for a set budget and there's another community that is also, I would rather just work with them if possible. And so when we go for funding, we will often pitch as a consortium of communities. So there's always something complementary. If you are truly competing, then I think it just always comes down to relationships, like selling anything else. Being really clear on how your community purpose aligns with their outcomes. And then like my KPI as our CEO is relationship building. Like I report every month on how many coffees I've had and how many nights out with potential funders and all of these things that, I'm sure you guys are doing, but I had neglected in the early stages of my business because I was so focused on building the relationship with the community members as opposed to building up to potential funders, which is also for me a weird dynamic because I started a community because I want to be in it. And now I'm spending so much time, I guess, working on the fundraising relationships rather than in it. Last year, I even felt like a little detached from our community because I had stopped coaching. Dana took over my coaching in one of my programs. And I just was like, I don't even know what our community wants anymore. So it's been a bit of a balance. So in terms of how to compete, just being super clear on your niche and how it aligns. For example, at the moment, what we're seeing is this intersection of people wanting to support African entrepreneurs, female entrepreneurs, and support people in the green tech or energy and sustainability space. So we've created a green tech version of our business school so that we still kind of hit exactly what the funders want while not straying from our mission. So yeah, I would say the niche, the relationships, and then if in doubt, collaborate, right? I wonder if Donna's electricity has cut.
Donna just freezed out
I
because
see.
it's very cold in South Africa. She freezed.
She's frozen.
Yeah. I want to ask you, where did you notice the gap between those free online events that you did and the moment that you decide to do a subscription and paid on live events?
That's what I got back.
Yeah.
I'm already like connected. That's like.
Well done. Quick. It's probably going to happen to me too, so don't worry. I'm also ready. So Raf, you were just asking me about the gap. Do you mean as in the gap for the business or for the members or both?
Both.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. I think from a business perspective, we just reached a point where we had no money and no energy, and we were like, we have to now be able to monetize. The question was what, and I think that's, where we're getting to. I actually wanted to launch a paid subscription on day one. That's what I wanted to do for Future Females. But what we understood is that a subscription is so much harder to sell than a single ticket or a single product, even if the amount is way, way lower. So for example, our business school program, the just online course, is $849. Our Founders Club, which is our monthly subscription, is like $39 to $49 a month. But it's almost as expensive and difficult to get someone buying for $49 as for $849. Yeah. I think there's a mindset around the commitment, right? Even though you can cancel. So I'm glad we didn't start with subscription on day one, because what we have learned now is that people who have bought something will be more likely to buy into a subscription. So then I guess we've filled in the gaps as we've had these learnings. So we launched the program, went to the subscription, people weren't buying unless they'd bought that program. So then we started thinking, how do we get people buying something that's way, way lower ticket, like a ticket itself, or for example, we've written a book and I sell it for $9, or we'll do a 3-hour-long workshop, which might be $19. And the purpose of that is to get more champions who've bought anything, are invested already, and then you can move into your subscription. So I think it was quite iterative for us.
Yeah, I think there is a lot of curiosity here in Israel among those Israeli admins about this subscription plan, because the subscription group didn't came yet to Israel, and it's very vague about how you qualified to do a subscription group, or what's the benefits or the limits.
I think there's also people in Israel I'm not going to mention names, but I know. But I know in some communities where people were paying actually like a subscription and something very cheap of $5 per month, but they got nothing in return. And then what happened is that you're paying and you forgot about that subscription, but eventually it adds up. So it's really what I like about what you were saying. So you basically were dividing it. You have your freebies, you have your basic products, and then from there you're coming to the premium. So you're basically working on the 3 of them. Please mention names. I need to check if that person is in the community, then I'll let you know.
Guy is hilarious. Yes. Guy is also a comedian.
No, but I do like the way that you've done it. And I think that's what a lot of communities are missing. And I think you really need to start working from that foundation of building this relationship with the freebies, then slowly adding like the small ones on the basic products. And then from there, you can actually move them to the premium, because once you already have them, they kind of captivate, so they can actually, come to you and they just want to buy whatever you're selling. And that's what I feel that a lot of time happened for you guys in the Future Females, that I can recognize the same faces. I can see the faces from the different courses and stuff. And you can see it. You can see that they're actually coming back and returning, which is amazing. Because for me, That's the difficult part. Not just to get them in the beginning, but to actually get them to be very loyal to you and to your brand, and just, like, be your VIP and buy whatever you offer. And that's why, if I link it to what you, Ty, were saying about the competition, I actually don't see none of the groups as a competition. And you know what?
Agree.
I don't really care what they do. I do me. And that's me. You either like it or not. Take it or leave it. This is my community. I bring what I can to the table. I try to do things my way. And some like it, some not. And it's all good. For me, it's not, as I said, the quantity. I want to have like quality people that I know them. I know what they do. I can speak with them. There's more to that in the conversation.
Yeah.
That's my thinking.
I love it. But I mean, that's what we was talking about at the start as well, right? You can't be a community that is for everyone. It has to be grounded on like some common principles, some rules. And so people who join your community are like all about your vibe. And people who join it and are like, oof, great, go to a different community that's better for you. I agree.
Sorry, I got my dog barking. My dog.
What's the name of the dog?
Elvis.
Elvis. Oh.
I just left the puppy tree. I've got a new puppy and she is insane. So that's what I've been doing all morning, trying to make her less insane.
You see, I got mine part of like, so I was laughing with Rafi before, like, I've been doing YouTube and everything, and it took me a while. Like, how many of you are feeling comfortable with the camera? Not so easily. It took me 2 weeks to convince myself to make my first video. And eventually, that's how I adopted my dog through a Netflix TV series. But I got it as a WhatsApp message. So I was sure it's a scam. Because who WhatsApp you something like this? Do you want to be part of a Netflix TV series? So I Googled, I've checked. It took me 2 days. I said, you know what? Yes, I thought it was going to be like something very small. Out of nowhere, I had like 10 cars coming to my small apartment, like full crew and everything. We filmed it in French. So it's actually also on Yes Doco, apparently. So if you want, you can watch. It's called The Dog for Life.
What is your session on?
So I just they full adoption. So they just like recorded like interview before they give you a dog and all that process. And I got a very special dog. I call him Love Dog. When I don't want to smack it.
Yeah.
I think it's a huge story, the Netflix story that you mentioned.
Yeah. Look, but that's part of it, that's eventually how we all want to be part of something. And I think that's the important part. If I'll take like, and summarize some of the things we're saying. We all want to be part of something, feel belong, feel comfortable to come and ask the questions, and, that no one judges. I know for a fact that, when I've joined some of the networking groups here in Cape Town, and then I realized, I'm actually not alone. That's like, I'm not the only one. That's not everything is going right from the beginning. And not everything's succeeding from scratch. No one actually speaks about like how tough it is and how many times you want to give up. And I think that's why when you were saying there's more female that actually managing communities, is because we love to speak. We love to share. We love to moan. We love to, that's part of it. And that's what we need a community for.
You're more talkish. I think you're more talkish than men, in men's group. Yeah, I think I see the the narrative in the women's group. They're more open, I think. They're rather than the men's, and I think it's more genuine and not fakey. And
I'll tell you something. So I was working for a company that we were doing products for the washrooms in the B2B market. And we actually had a full discussion about it in a conference, except for one country, and you can guess which one after. We all agreed about that fact. So apparently, women use the washroom differently from men. We not only go there to do our needs, we actually go there to have a full conversation. So that's our me time to the quiet time. That's where someone in the office is starting to cry. She goes there, and then a full group of female come to support her and encourage her. So for them, the washroom for female, it's way more than just us. And I think that's why, if you actually link it, that's why we actually more in a place for having those communities. we need that togetherness, like that place, and cheer up, and to know that we're not alone. That
absolutely, we're naturally networking creatures, and I also think, you know, COVID was incredibly difficult. We had to stop running any of our physical events. In April 2020, we had 30 physical events, and in May we had 0. And it's put a lot of pressure, but it's also directed a lot of people into like the digital spaces where you don't have a physical opportunity to be vulnerable. So this is your opportunity. And so you become more open, and it feels like a safe space as well when it's a community that's closed and that you trust and that you understand that you're going to be supported. So I, though, Rafi, have never been in an all-male community. So I'm going to have to go and experience that too.
I'm actually not sure there is. If there is actually a group that just for the guys, I would love to hear the name and just even to join just for a few days, and I'll leave the group just to get that thing. Because I actually don't think there is one. I know in Israel there's so many like Facebook groups for females. Mine, the one האורחת, לעצמאות, it's a mix. But I know even in South Africa you have lots of females. I haven't met even one for men. So
there is a huge group in Israel called the Abba Pagum, which is in translation damaged father.
Okay.
And it's a huge father defect.
It's more of a defect. It's like there's something like you should fix it.
Okay. Oh wow.
And there is not a lot of only men groups, but there is a lot of only women groups. Yeah. So what's the next step for future females after the webinars and the session and the subscription events?
Yeah. So we're actually simplifying this year, because we, as I said, our strategy has been tell us what you need and we make it. And we've made so many things that it's almost difficult now to know the one thing that Future Female stands for and to come to us for. So we are in a process of simplifying everything. We are going to be focused on growing our subscription membership specifically. We're custom building a platform, so off Facebook, where the community can engage in sub-communities. I think, some of you probably have quite large groups, and what we've noticed is as we grow around the globe, it becomes a less relevant experience for an individual. For example, like we just launched in India, and if you are an Indian female entrepreneur and you join our Facebook group, you're not connecting with other Indian female entrepreneurs because we haven't grown that base yet. So I'm building a platform where we have sub-communities. So if I could join the Johannesburg group, the coaches group, the community leaders group. So that's what we're working on. That's the main thing. And then the other thing that we're doing that I'm a little bit scared about, but excited, is we're raising a venture capital firm. So what we think, what we see as a massive gap, particularly in South Africa, is access to funding for women. Some of you, I'm sure, are passionate about this, and the percentage of VC venture capital funding that's gone to women has actually gone down in the last 2 years. And a large reason for that is that there aren't enough female fund managers. So we want to become the fund to start turning that trend around as well. So that's what I
think is amazing and super important in South Africa. And I see there is a question here from Itai: which platforms off Facebook are relevant to your community?
Cool. So as I was saying, we have a lot of online programs, and so we use 2 different systems for those. One is called ClickFunnels and one is called Kartra, and they are super quick, out-of-the-box tools where you can use, like, it connects your email marketing to webinar software into like a private experience to go through courses. Interestingly, though, if you buy one of our courses, you still go and join your community in Facebook. So we're still at the moment very much leveraging that. There's one system that is really freaking cool. If I was starting again today, I would use Mighty Networks. I'm not sure, maybe some of you are already on it. I'll pop it into the chat.
Yeah, great.
If you're thinking about monetizing your community, this is incredible. And it's a web and it's an app, and you can have free and paid sections to it as well.
IT networks. Yeah, I will share it in the comments for everyone.
Thank
And
you.
we'll check it out later on.
Perfect.
Great, yeah.
Nice. And you guys are also active a bit on Instagram, no? You do have, but it's not as powerful as the Facebook.
I think my definition of community is a space where members can interact with each other rather than just interacting with Future Females, the brand. And so as much as you can build a community spirit on Instagram, I don't see a lot of conversation happening between followers, right? Like it does in a Facebook group. So for us, our core community is housed in the group where they can have conversations. The Instagram for us is very much about building our brand, our network, and then marketing the events and the group and the products. Yeah.
I think that's a great way, if we're already like going to go to the summit up, but that's a great way to actually look at this, because basically it goes back to that foundation of building that. What is it? Someone told me.
I did. Hi, Shaha. So nice to almost see you.
You see what a small world we have here.
Shaha runs
everybody in Israel hearing something, and Shahar hears that.
I love it. I was singing your praises, Shaha.
So what I think I'm going to try to say, like, to sum it up, so that eventually it's all really about building the relationship. And so what you guys have done, so you actually using other platforms like TikToks and Instagram, because I know you're active on both of them, as more of as a brand awareness and to, you know, get to build that brand of Future Females. And on the other hand, you're working on building that proper community with building the relationship on the Facebook group. And I think that's the most important thing, on focusing on building a relationship and slowly start to think how you can actually start to also monetize it and see how you can earn the money out of it. But again, you want to monetize it in a very like a, let's say, a smart way to do it, you know, to really have like that you, on the one hand, listen to your followers and listen to your community and build something that is relevant for them. I think it's also like a great trial to see in the beginning, like if that audience, are you connecting with them or are you not? Because sometimes, you know, we tend to work with one audience and then you start working with them. It's like, not really sure that that's the one I like. So it always gives you like that trial. So that's the part that I love here when you were saying about the going with the flow and then doing the research and learning. So I think you guys got lots of different tools from here. I know Lorraine is still going to be in that group. So you're more than welcome to ask questions. You can create.
This is the group admin of the Abba Pagum group, the huge man groups.
Oh, wow.
You guys are great. Keep bringing quality content. Thank you very much. Toda. Toda, Sal.
Nice, thank you. But we can teach you in Afrikaans to say buy a donkey.
Love it.
I'm just going to say something funny about this. When you hear it, it's basically buy a donkey. It's two different words, donkey, donkeyschen. But the first time I heard it, I wasn't unsure like why people tell me to go buy a donkey. And that became a joke that like, I don't have donkeys. Where can I buy them? So it's just funny to say.
For more jokes,
join our next one. And you guys. So if you guys have more questions, Lorraine will be in the group.
We have a question. Elvis has a question.
Elvis is like, yes, one more question.
He heard the donkey and then he started to bark.
Exactly. He thought he was being replaced.
Well, that's what I do in webinars. I said, like, mute yourself, and then I really shout in Hebrew so loud at the dog. So he's like, so yeah. So
what is this language? Hebrew?
He actually speaks Afrikaans, English, and Hebrew. So you can.
Wow.
Wow.
Oh my gosh, your dog speaks more languages than I do, Dana.
Afrikaans. I can also do Afrikaans a bit, so yeah.
I'm sure that there will be more questions and more comments after the show will end in a few seconds. And you're more than welcome, Dana and Lorraine, to comments and respond. You're also part of the CLI group, Community Leadership Israel. And as I mentioned in Hebrew, the International Women's Day for me is not only a day or a week. Every day is a Women's Day for me.
Absolutely. Well, you're on the same page about that, Rafi.
It's an honor.
But thank you also for hosting me and for everyone in the group as well for engaging. It's always just so exciting to connect with other community leaders. I mean, even if the purpose of our community is different, we really have the same intentions, right? To bring people together, create safe spaces, drive impact and change. So yeah, I'm really excited to stay in the group and learn more about you too in the future sessions.
Amen for that.
And thank you for joining.
Yes,
I hope
Dana,
it's
final words from you, the host.
No, I'm just grateful that Lorraine, for the community that she founded. And thank you for joining today. And thank you, Rafi, for hosting it and for hosting us. So I know Rafi for like more than 15 years now. So yeah.
Wow.
Calculate when we finish our BA and then you'll figure it out.
I love it. Yes, thank you both.
Amazing. And also for those viewers, you're more than welcome to join our new Instagram page, Community Leadership Israel. Brand new, when the first story is about this live. Yes. Taram. So, Auf Wiedersehen in German, it's see you. And how you say in African goodbye?
Tutsin.
I'm going to stick with English. I'll be your English representative. And I will
You're in South Africa for so long. You need to know some stuff.
No, I don't. As in, I want to, I just can't retain it. Awesome.
Okay, so shalom and thank you, everyone. It was a great pleasure and fun. And have a great weekend.
Yay.
Au revoir. Shalom.